Hi, Mark Tilden, Hong Kong. Just wanted to ask, is there a documentary or a book that might actually detail some of the behind the scenes of some of the wonderful systems for, say, air purification, water purification, or even down to the engines? I'd really like to see some of the details behind how this place was built and how it's kept running.
Yeah, there definitely will be. There's actually, I think, a couple productions that are right. Okay, the Cruise and Review, which is going to be available on board, that has some of that behind the scenes footage. National Geographic is working with us. So in fact, there's a film team that's again coming back on board this Saturday to wrap up some of that. So there'll be a National Geographic special. Discovery Channel has been on board. They're doing their own production. And my understanding is that we also will have available, when this is all completed, kind of a collector's kit that you can get on board, which would have the whole building process documented. We had that for Voyager back in 1999, which was like, I think it was a 5 CD set, which really took you into great detail. So all of that will be available at some point.
To the very left.
Monsieur Sobin, Puerto Rico. I'd like to say thank you for a wonderful trip. It's really been nice, and it's nice to hear all the ecological things that you're doing. Just one observation. For people like me who are blind, it would be nice to have a magnifying mirror in the bathrooms. I really miss that.
Okay, that's why.
I'm sure a lot of guys would like that too.
No, thank you. That's good feedback. We do have it available in certain categories of staterooms and the suites, but that's certainly a good feedback. Thank you very much. We actually have a lot of features for guests with disabilities in general and blind guests in particular. Some of our guests may have noticed that if you go in a lot of the state, all the staterooms, all the elevators, whenever you press the buttons, you have the braille buttons, but also even on the ratings, if you check the ratings, underneath the rating on every level, you have the ability to see the different levels, and we very much appreciate this kind of feedback. It allows us to do more and more every time and for every new building. Thank you.
Afternoon, Captain Knight. I'm from Montreal, all Montreal. I was just wondering if you rely totally on your shore organization and the various ports of call to make sure that the produce and the water that you take in these various ports meet the terms of the contract, or do you have a lab on board that will do the occasional testing?
Okay, well, first of all, we take virtually no provisions on board in the outports. All of our provisioning is taking place in Port Everglades, so it's coming through the U.S. In terms of water, yes, we do have a lab on board, and most of the water that we consume on board is actually produced from ocean water. We have evaporators and reverse osmosis systems, so that the vast majority, the something like 470,000 gallons that you consume every day is produced on board. And if we do bunker water in port, that goes through, we isolate it and we test it to make sure that it's fine before we actually put it into the system. Most of the water is ocean water, which is, and when we're finished with it, it's the purest fresh water you could ever ask for. Just very, very, very pure.
Yes, hi Captain, I'm Dan, I'm coming out of Dallas. I had a couple of questions, one more general, that for a port like yesterday where there were so many ships out there, what is the order for getting a berth? Is it first come, first served, or are they actually reserved? And secondly, this is a fabulous ship and it's still early days, but so far, based on comments and experience, have you come across things that you've got to change in the Allure simply because they have caused some issues or something you can improve on in the Allure?
Well, as far as the ports, it's port arrivals are highly choreographed. So that's arranged way in advance in terms of not only which ships are coming into port, what the order will be, and actually where they'll be berthing. Right now, the only berth we have, for example, in St. Martin is where we were yesterday. They haven't finished dredging on the outside of the dock where the AIDA ship was docked yesterday. In terms of observation, sure, we collect a lot of lessons learned. The ship has performed remarkably well, considering her size and her complexity. The issues that we have had operationally have been surprisingly few. In fact, I would, and Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this was a much smoother startup than we actually had with Freedom. And Freedom was, for all intents and purposes, an extension of the Voyager class. So that ship was very familiar. We understood her and we kind of knew how to operate her. Whereas this was, Oasis was a completely different ballgame. There's been some things. We realized we got in some of the staterooms, we got the plugs, the power outlets in the wrong place. I don't know how that happened, but
that's just a game. That's a game with how to find the plug.
Right. So there are those types of details that we make very, very careful notes on, and we hopefully can change that for the Allure.
We estimate that we have probably approximately 5,000 changes between the Oasis and the Allure. So those are mostly very small details, but it still comes up altogether to about 5,000 changes.
Yeah, some things you'll never know because it's, for instance, things backstage that just need to be moved over just a little bit to give us a little bit more room for the cast. So it's the little things like that along the way that, of course, if we can correct it, then we will. And Captain, you told me something completely different. You said who gets the dock? It's whoever's the biggest. Gets whatever.
Well, almost.
Almost.
Not quite.